She's 20, right?
Number 20, yeah. Yep.
They really don't care all.
Okay, let's call this meeting to order. It's 6 o'clock, so we'll call the meeting to order. And I've asked Pastor Alan McClawley from Faith Baptist Church here in Bowie to lead us in our prayers.
The scriptures make it clear that our government authorities, both on a national level and local municipalities, have been ordained and appointed by God. And as citizens under God, we are obligated to submit ourselves to that authority. And likewise, public servants and officials are likewise obligated to carry out that authority, that responsibility in righteousness and justice, always keeping the best interests of the people top of mind. Serving in leadership or authority is a privilege and should always be viewed as such. Let's pray. Father in heaven, Lord, we love you. We thank you for this community that we get to call home. I thank you for each one here who's willing to serve. I pray, God, that your wisdom, discernment, discretion, and judgment would rest upon each one here tonight. You would help us to make decisions in accordance with your will. We ask all these things in Christ's name.
Amen. Thank you. And if you would join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If y'all would, please silence your cell phones or turn them off so that we won't be interrupted. First item on the agenda is announcements, and I've asked Dr. McKay to come give us a brief update with all the mess that's going on around the world on this coronavirus. I spoke with him this morning at the clinic, if he would kind of give us an update on what he knows in case we need to go get a shot or whatever for the flu. So if you would, Dr. McKay.
My name is Dr. McKay, Delbert McKay. I am a family practice here. I've been here for 27 years. I'm also the local health authority, which means I interact with the state health department for many different things. West Nile virus, TB, rabies, whatever. Right now it's a coronavirus. A little history of what coronavirus is. It was first discovered in 1960 by an electron micrograph because it looked like a crown. They called it corona, which in Latin means crown. There are many of them are known. Human, non-human, animal, and the like. If you've heard of SARS, when it came out, SARS virus, it was a cross between a human coronavirus and a civet cat, C-I-V-A-T-E-T, civet cat. You heard of MERS, the Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome, MERS. It was a cross between a dromedary camel and a human virus, both of them corona. And now we have this one, which we believe is a pagoda, which is a type of animal. It gets corona. Bats have the highest number of strains of any animal of coronavirus. What can we do about it? It's not a question of if we're going to get corona, it's just a question of when. As of today, there is one confirmed case in Collin County, Frisco. It's coming. What can you do? Wash your hands. 20 seconds. Say happy birthday. The sprays that you put on are good in between hand washing, but they're not going to do as great a job if you could depend upon them. It's hand washing, soap, and water. Masks will help you stop from spreading the virus, but will not keep you from getting it. big of an opening and too small of a virus. It's an RNA virus. And it's going to get, what are the symptoms? Fever, cough, and difficulty breathing, shortness of breath. That's the flu. That's bronchial pneumonia. That's a lot of things. We are still having some of the problems with vaping. We've got kids with vaping. Those are going to be susceptible to the coronavirus. We've got elderly people. People that are on Humira or other immunosuppressant drugs are going to have a problem with the coronavirus. But young, healthy people and people without medical problems, it'll be as cold. But what we worry about is like they're having in Washington, the nursing home. Those are the things. What are they doing? We all heard about quarantine. Quarantine, you can voluntarily not go places, or you can stay at home. Can they make you? This is America. We haven't found out yet. It's coming. We don't know. State goes, we're going to ask you to voluntarily to shut down any gathering like this should be done no more than, everyone should be 6 feet from each other. That's the corona. So it's safety by distance, 6 feet. How long will the coronavirus live? On a surface like this, up to 9 days.
Wow.
What will kill it? 10% bleach. I've got a list of things approved by the EPA that you can use, all kinds of wipes, soap and water. Again, it comes down to washing your hands and don't touch your face. Looking out over here, I've seen everybody has at least touched their face at least once. Don't touch your face. They did a study where they put cold viruses into people's throats. 10 out of 100 got cold. They put it on their eyes right here. 90 got a cold. They put it on their thumbs and forefingers. 90 got a cold. You touch it. They've got lots of things you can look on YouTube and see where the guy washed his hands with the thing, with the alcohol, the little spritzer of Perel, and they showed that we have an oil we can put this fluorescent and get the bacteria, not viruses, but bacteria, and you look at it and you go, didn't like you did anything. 20 seconds washing, it was clean. That's the deal. What can we do? If you've got a fever and you're coughing, stay home. Do your family, do your people in the community, and do yourself a favor. Don't go to Walmart. Don't go to the nursing home. Schools, don't know. Right now, the state's still trying to figure that out. How much is going to be quarantined, what's going to be going on. But it's not a question that if we're going to get the coronavirus around here, it's a question of when. Any questions I can confuse you about? Yes, sir.
Could you tell us a little bit about the case in Chico, the individual, any information?
Right now, I don't have any information on that. When I got off from the state at 4 o'clock this afternoon, the only thing they had confirmed was the one in Frisco. In Collin County, Frisco, that's the only one. Frisco.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
Yeah, it's been confirmed.
What said Chico?
It's confirmed, it's a confirmed case. Now, I'm going to back up a little bit and try to do away with a little bit of scaring. Everybody has heard, and you look on TV, the 1918 flu, and you see all the, how many millions in the United States died. What they did not have in 1918 that we have now, if you look at the pictures, and those should be your clue, you see a ward with 300 people, everybody wearing masks, and nobody washed their hands. Simple. They didn't know about viruses, they didn't know about bacteria, nobody washed their hands, and they said everybody was sick in the same room, 300 in one ward. Of course, we wouldn't do that now.
Excuse me, Dr. K. We don't have a lot of time to talk. I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
But I would like to just ask one question.
Sure.
We've heard all about the test kits and all that stuff. If someone of us here in Bowie feel like we may have the flu, can we come to the clinic or come to see our doctor and get tested?
Yes, the test we'll have to call the state and find out what the kits are. Some of them should be in Wichita Falls because there's a state health department there. But your doctor would have to call the state health department and find out what the kits are. If they don't have enough, they will collect it and send it to the CDC, and that takes 3 to 5 days.
So if the general public has questions about what should I do or where do I go, they can contact their local doctor.
The local doctor
And-
or,
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming, and appreciate your comments. And I've also asked Blake Enloe, who is our superintendent of the school district, to come and kind of give us an update on what happens if we get an outbreak in schools.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't know about what we were going to do with the school, so it's just fortunate that I'm here. Currently, our situation is just basic awareness of what's going on. We don't have an indication or we anticipate a change in what we're doing currently as it relates to the coronavirus. However, we are monitoring a set of lists of things that we have been given out. The first one is to review, update, and implement our emergency operations plan, our PSs. And Alicia Green is our district registered nurse, and she and I met last week. And meeting weekly to go through our processes to make sure that those are up to date. We communicate daily. We're to develop an information sharing system with our partners. We use specifically the Regional Service Center out of Wichita Falls. And they were participating in a CDC conference call once a week on Thursday afternoons. However, today that's switched to every day. And so we're participating every day with the CDC call and sharing that information. We monitor our plan for absenteeism. Recently, when somebody's absent from the school, they'll give us some information about that. Alicia monitors the whole district, and then they'll be in at the elementary, and then we show them the junior high and establish procedures for students and staff who are sick at school. Obviously, they report to the nurse, and when they have any of those symptoms, they're sent directly home. We keep them in that area instead of putting in a general area where they can be exposed to other students in the campus. One of the really good things that we're proud of is they said to perform a routine environmental cleaning of campuses. A couple of years ago, we bought a Clorox 360 machine, and that helps to deep clean at different times throughout the year. And I checked with our director of custodials today, and we're going to do that on Monday and Tuesday of next week. And they are actually, the manufacturer cannot keep up with the demand for those machines, and so we're on the front end of that, making sure that we have one of those machines. We have them here in Bowie, and we'll be deploying those on Monday and Tuesday while we're on spring break to go ahead and deep clean every building that our kids will be in and that kind of thing. We're so very proud of him for being ahead of the game on that. We have a communication plan within our school community. Obviously, being here tonight, we want to make sure that we share information with everybody that's here at each one of our campuses. Has telephone, email, social media systems, and in the event that something were to change, we can get that information out very quickly. And then obviously, the Texas Education Agency, kind of like Dr. McKay said, provides ongoing information, but right now, they're kind of in a monitoring situation as well. They said we contact them with specific cases or things that come up with regard to attendance and that kind of thing. But right now, it's just kind of monitoring to see what happens. And they said, obviously, whatever guidance and questions that they may have, but right now, it's kind of wait and see. So right now, we don't have any major plans to disrupt our normal operations, but are prepping in the background. Frisco and that kind of thing. So we want to be prepared in the event that it doesn't make it up here. We're trying to be on the front side of that. So.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mr. Blake. Thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is a proclamation. So Cheryl Walters, if you could come forward, please.
Cheryl is married to Patrick Walters, and there's been a lot of stuff in the news recently about Patrick's uncle, who was in the Navy in World War II, aboard a ship that had been berthed in Pearl Harbor, and that ship got attacked and sank by several Japanese torpedoes. And I'm just going to stop there and let you finish the story, because you got more details than I do, Cheryl.
Patrick gave me a whole list of stuff to say, so I'll try my best. We're talking about Fireman First Class Bethel Walters. He was born February the 20th in 1916. Bethel enlisted in the Navy in November 13th, 1940 in Dallas. Reported for duty on the USS West Virginia in January 18th, 1941. Of course, on December 7th, 1941, approximately 7:45, the Japanese Navy attacked Pearl Harbor, and in particular all the battleship Roe of the Pacific Fleet, except for the aircraft carriers. All the battleships were lost: the Maryland, the Oklahoma, the Tennessee, the West Virginia, the Arizona, and the Nevada. Many of the other ships in that harbor were lost also. Bethel, by rank, might give you the impression that he was a firefighter, but all the shipmates on board were firefighters. His rank was, fireman's duty was to be firing of the boilers, which meant that his battle station was in the bottom of the ship, which explains why the extended recovery time for him. The attack on the USS West Virginia took the lives of 106 sailors and Marines assigned to the USS West Virginia, of whom 25 were never identified, including Bethel. In the immediate aftermath of the attack, the U.S. Navy attempted without success to locate survivors trapped in the USS West Virginia. Marines that stood guard over the West Virginia heard tapping sounds for weeks after the sinking. After reconstruction, the USS West Virginia was raised, and 66 individuals were located on that ship. The bodies of 3 seamen were found in the storeroom, which was open to the freshwater pump room. That area remained in airtight condition, where they were kept alive with rations up until December 23rd, according to a calendar that they marked. Let's see, our involvement began 12 years ago when we received a phone call from a gentleman in Hawaii named Ray Emery. He was searching for relatives of any of the lost veterans. He asked if we had any way of getting DNA samples that we could send off to the Navy. Mr. Emery is retired Navy. He lives in Pearl Harbor. He was there when the Japanese attacked December 7th. During his whole retirement, he spent his whole life trying to recover all the fallen to get back to their home. Mr. Emery searched in Bethel's hometown and found our phone number, and that's how we got notified. We were asked to provide DNA. Pat sent DNA in. He was also able to fly to Denver, Colorado to get Bethel's brother a sample from him, and Rex passed away just a couple months after we got that. Okay, years passed, and we've been in touch with Mr. Emery, and we talked back and forth and see what all was going on. He called us a couple years ago and said that all the boys from the West Virginia had been raised. Never met the man, but I love him. Okay. Said all the boys were in the lab. They were trying to get DNA to locate who their families were. Okay. We were notified from a lady that was working genealogy. Her name was Dee Dee King. She has relatives that live in Nocona. And she was calling to find out what we could do, give her for living relatives. So when we were talking to her, I said, "You've got to be telling me something else that you're not saying. That do you know that he's been identified?" She said, "I don't know, but I can't tell you that." She said, "But if you get some good news, call me, because I don't know." 2 days later, I have 2 uniforms from the Navy coming to our office, and they laid out the information of how they identified Bethel through the DNA, through letters that we sent back that his mom had sent to him, or he had sent to her, with his saliva on it. So we were able to get that information. We didn't plan the funeral till now because we have a son-in-law that is in the military in the U.S. Navy. He was on board the USS Nimitz, so we were waiting for him to get back so we could make sure that he would be able to assist us in bringing Beth back. They always have a military escort for all the remains. Jeremy is a petty officer on the USS Nimitz. He is a machinist mate nuclear one. He flew out this morning from Seattle. Pat, our son, Chad, they flew out from Dallas this morning to go out to Hawaii. And his brother, Brad, is there. They will all bring him back on Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. We will all meet him there as family and bring him home to Bowie. I want to thank all the Bowie, City of Bowie people for this proclamation. The family is very honored, and thank you very much.
Leading back to that now, I have a proclamation to make. This proclamation is Bethel Walters Day.
Yes.
Whereas the freedoms we enjoy as Americans have been purchased and maintained at a high price throughout our history. And Americans, we have been willing to fight and die to preserve their individual rights as guaranteed in the United States Constitution. And we owe great debt to those who served in defense of this nation. And for many, that sacrifice has ended in permanent injury or death. Yet their spirit remains in the continued preservation of our freedoms and to the promise of liberty established as an example for all oppressed persons of the world. And in honor of Bethel Walters, we pledge our continued defense of our nation so that his sacrifice will stand before the entire world as a tribute to the spirit and determination of a people dedicated to the principles of freedom and democracy. Now, therefore, I, Bill Miller, Mayor of the City of Bowie, urge all our citizens to honor our veterans and rededicate themselves to the preservation of our liberties under the Constitution. And I, Bill Miller, do hereby proclaim March 14th, 2020, that's this upcoming Saturday, as Bethel Walters Day.
Thank you so much.
And the Barry will be there at the Heavenly Cemetery Saturday morning at 10 o'clock.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. You did a great job. Okay, the next item on the agenda is public comments. Would there be any public comments at this time from anybody? Yes, sir. Come to the podium, identify yourself and where you live.
Good evening. My name is Craig Stalka. I live here in Bowie, 20-year resident. The reason I was coming tonight is I felt good a few months ago, and it may have been longer than that because I'm getting old. Sometimes things go fly by real fast. But we cut the commercial rates on electric. And when I saw that, all those discussions about cutting the commercial rates for electric, I thought, well, you know what, that's great. That's great news because what that means is if the city's in a position to even consider cutting rates for people, for businesses and their electric, that means that they've got their budget in order and we're in real good shape financially. So the other day I was reading the Bowie News that does a great job of coverage. But and I was a little bit disturbed because I read that we were considering raising sewer rates. Well, we raised sewer rates a couple of years ago. We raised the water department rates a couple of years ago. At the same time that we cut or passed on the reduction in electric rates for our citizens, which was not from the city. That was a BTU cut. So the city didn't give us anything. What they did is pass along the cut that BTU gave us. So at the same time we did that, we raised the sewer rates, I think, around 10%. I think we raised the water rates around 25%. That was supposedly to try to get them up to where, in a P&L position, that they would be somewhat break even because the city's revenue model, most of the revenue comes from electric. Fine, that's all good. So I was a little bit disturbed when I read that we're thinking about raising the sewer rate because to me, the council here, and I've been a part of the council, I understand, has a fiduciary responsibility to do what's best for the city. Doing what's best for the city is not just doing what's best for the city government. It's also doing what's best for citizens. As I argued against the sewer and water increases a couple of years ago, it's like there's a lot of people who can pay another $8 or $10. That's not a big deal, but there are a lot of people in our town that cannot afford another $8 or $10 a month. That's somebody's meal. That money belongs in their pocket. Managing our government responsibility is a two-sided equation. It's income and expenses. Now, every time the cost of steaks goes up at Brookshire's, I don't get to go to my boss and say I need some more money. That doesn't work. I have to manage my budget, manage my groceries so that I can get what I want. So I'm asking y'all to do the same thing. Because if you're not doing that and you're not managing the expense side, then the only thing you're managing is how deep you're digging into my pocket. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stalka. Any other comments? Okay, if not, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is consent agenda items, and that, the number one is approval of the minutes from the February 24th regular meeting. And I'd entertain a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, let's have a vote. Ms. Higgins, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Malone?
Aye.
Mr. Love?
Aye.
Ms. Buckmaster?
Aye.
Mr. Kent?
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Next item on the agenda, number 8, is old business. Number 1, consider councilor process for agenda items. Mr. Kent, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I asked for this to be put on last time, and unfortunately I came down ill and was unable to attend the meeting. We've all discussed it in the past about a process needed to get the agenda items on the agenda. And we've discussed, you know, if 2 or more of us want something on the agenda, then it should be put on the agenda. And I'd like to make a motion that that be put in and passed. I know it was discussed about putting it into a workshop at some future date. That could be several months. We typically go down to 1 meeting a month during the summer, and we've got a lot of things to get done.
So am I hearing you say you want to make that as a motion?
I want to make a motion that we accept the process of if 2 or more counselors or council members wish to have something placed on the agenda, that it be placed on the agenda.
Okay. Do we have a second on that motion?
Well, we need to discuss how we're gonna do that, because we've already got that motion right now. I mean, I'm sorry, we've already got that process right now, where if 2 or more, 3 counselors come up with an item they want to put on the agenda, it's put before, it goes to Sandy, and then it goes to Bill to approve it. Well, I mean, if we do it this way, I mean, things could still get knocked off. You see?
We don't have anything in
We don't
writing.
have anything.
Yeah,
right.
well, Bert told me we have, because I already discussed it with Bert. We already got it.
We have some things that don't come right out and say that they're referring to other things. They're not exactly referring to the things
Right.
that go on the agenda.
There's not a set way to do it.
I
We've been
agree with
denied.
comments on this that.
Right.
that,
No, I agree. So,
Any more discussion before we ask for a second? Or I've already asked for a second. Is there any more discussion? Is there a second on this proposal?
I'll second it.
Okay. Mr. Kent, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Buckmaster?
Aye.
Mr. Love?
Aye.
Mr. Malone?
Aye.
Ms. Higgins? Okay, that passes. The next item on the agenda is item number 9. Accept the resignation from our City Attorney Tracey Jennings. Last Thursday, I believe it was, I received a phone call from Ms. Jennings wanting me to come over and meet with her, and I did. And that's when she informed me she had turned in her resignation as our city attorney. She's taken a job up in Wichita Falls at the, I think, the Wichita County Prosecutor's Office. So we accepted that letter, and now we need to officially accept it. So is there a motion to accept this letter? I think her letter's in your packet there. Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Ms. Higgins, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Malone?
Reluctantly, aye.
Okay. Mr. Love?
Aye.
Ms. Buckmaster?
Aye.
Mr. Kent?
Aye.
Okay, that passes. The next agenda item is consider an appointment process for a new city attorney. Bert, do you want to talk to us about that?
Yeah, I've talked to, I've contacted 4 different attorneys, 3 of them, or 2 of them locally, one in Decatur and one in Dallas, and asked them to submit a proposal to us with their rates and so forth. I have one, so I'm waiting on at least 2 more. The 4th person I contacted never called me back. So anyway, I would suggest that we do an executive session at our next meeting and go over those and make some choices and and then at a later meeting, go ahead and have an interview process with the prospective people.
Any comments or some discussion on that?
I would just ask that before we interview anybody, that we ascertain that they have municipal experience as an attorney.
Yes.
All three of these do.
Yes. Then I would be glad to talk to all three.
Any other discussion or comments? So do we want to put this into a motion to discuss this at a next meeting in an executive session?
Can we discuss it in an executive session?
Say again?
That's where hires.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, it's personnel matters.
She's not a personnel.
We don't have to, based on one of the attorneys advised me, I said that we need to have this in executive session, and he said, yeah, probably. He said, you don't have to, but there's some things that we want y'all to know that we don't necessarily want the public to know.
I recommend we do an executive session for personnel matters.
It's
So-
not a personnel issue. They're not an employee.
So how do you want to make your motion, Mr. Love?
Let's make a motion that we discuss the possible hiring of city attorney in executive session at the next available meeting.
Do I have a second on that? Okay. Mr. Kent, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Buckmaster?
Aye.
Mr. Love?
Aye.
Mr. Malone?
Aye.
Ms. Higgins? Okay, that passes. Okay, item number 9.3, Resolution 2020-07, waiving the fees for the citywide occasional garage sale to be held on April 3rd and 4th of 2020. I think this is something we do traditionally every year during that time, to waive the garage sale fees for the residents who desire to have a garage sale that weekend. Any discussion before we take a vote? Let me take a motion on approving this. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Okay. Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Ms. Higgins, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Malone?
Aye.
Mr. Love?
Aye.
Ms. Buckmaster?
Aye.
Mr. Kent?
Aye.
Okay, moving right along. Okay, next item, number 4, accept the annual racial profiling report by Police Chief Guy Green. So Guy, if you'll come over and tell us what's going on. Yeah, you could talk loud, we'll hear you, yeah. And by the way, these details are in y'all's packets.
Every year, police department is required to track all traffic stops by state law. We have to track the race, the gender, how many vehicles were searched, all those kinds of things that you can see in the packet. We're required by law to submit that to the state, and we're also required to submit it to the governing authority, which is the council, so you can see what we're doing and make sure that we're not being, unfair to any certain groups of people. So I don't know if you want me to read all this or if y'all just have questions.
I just noticed it kind of profiling white guys.
And men.
86%.
And men.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
a
just,
lot more than this guy.
Well, now 59% were men, 40% were female, and 86.6% were white, and then it goes down from there. I don't feel like we're being over, compared to what our demographic is here, I think that falls into line.
What I think that says is that women are better drivers than men, right?
I'm not anti. I'm married, so I'm not anti.
Chief, I noticed someone to report here that the number 9, description of contraband, drugs, weapons, alcohol, and other. What does other fall into?
Well, that's a good question. And I didn't look that up to see what they listed, those 8 things. I can go back and find that.
Well, that's all right. I just thought you might
But there
know.
could be different things, and it depends on what the officer codes that at in the computer. I honestly would hate to tell you because I'd probably be wrong. I'd have to
Okay.
look that up.
Then the rest of them there, the highest for a number of contraband cases was drugs, 75.
Yes, sir.
What's the biggest drug that we're confiscating that you
Well, the
see?
biggest drug problem we have is methamphetamine. There's methamphetamine, and then you have prescription pills, and marijuana. That's the most things that we deal with. We deal with just about everything, but that's the majority of all. The methamphetamine is the biggest problem, and it's, unfortunately, it's everywhere.
So when these folks are arrested, they go appear to our city attorney, or do they go to court?
Well, depending on what we charge them with, if they're charged, well, everyone that we arrest, we take them to the facility down here where we have the holding facility. They're booked in, they're processed. Depending on the weekdays, hours, local Judge Cordell will arraign them, and then they're taken over to the county. And then, because we are not technically a jail, we don't fit the jail standards, you can't make bond here. You have to go to a county jail, be booked in before you can post bond or bail. So, if it's on the weekends, then most of the time we take them over there in the JP reads them on the weekends, generally.
And of these arrests that y'all are make, and I'm not sure which is the biggest category here, but those that go to trial, I guess what I'm trying to ask, how many of those folks are prosecuted based on you guys arresting these folks? Do you see many successful prosecutions of these folks getting slapped with jail or fines or whatever? If you can't answer that, I understand. I'm just curious.
I'd have to run a whole nother report and try to get the research from that. I'd have to get a report from the different prosecutors. We file all Class Cs are filed with the local City of Bowie municipal judge, and I believe we have no problems there. A and B misdemeanors are filed with the county attorney's office, county court. We don't typically ever have any trials that I know of. We never get called for trials. And then the felonies go to the DA's office, and they're so backlogged with so many. We file. That's on the other report that you get monthly. It shows you how many felony cases we file every year.
Okay.
And periodically there's trials and different things there. But as far as the conviction rate, I don't know. That's not what this is about, so
Okay.
I don't have that information.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for those answers. Any questions from the council? If not, then we'll consider a vote to approve this.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. Okay, Mr. Kent?
Aye.
Ms. Buckmaster?
Aye.
Mr. Love?
Aye.
Mr. Malone?
Aye.
And Ms. Higgins, how do you vote? All right, thank you. Thanks, Chief. Okay, agenda item 9, number 5. Consider sewer rate increase submitted by City Manager Bert Cunningham. So Bert, you've got the floor.
As you can see from the paperwork, our sewer revenues last year were $892,363, and our expenses were $1,059,000 change. We lost $166,000 last year. So far this year, in our sewer, we have through January we've lost $52,409. If you'll notice, I've given you two proposed rates. Number one is basically I think we've done some things in the sewer department to increase the amount of revenue and some things without going up on everybody and cut our expenses. I really don't think that we need the big increase that number 2 is because of these things, but I don't really know until we get further in the year to see how much we're going to be losing at the end of the year. So I would recommend that we do sewer rate number 1 increase, but number 2 is available for discussion there. Of course, it's up to you exactly what we want to do. I talked to Thomas Ken this afternoon, and Thomas had a couple of suggestions on number 2. One of them was that in the residential outside the city limits to change that $25 flat to a $21 flat, and then on the commercial inside, change that from $26 to $26.15, and that would be revenue neutral. It'd bring in the same amount of money, which is basically that we'd have be at a break-even point there.
Those changes are on proposal number 2, but you're recommending
That's correct,
number 1.
yes. Part of the second proposal is, and I started working on it this afternoon, and I didn't get it done because I had too many visits from citizens and lawyers that wanted the city attorney's job, came to see me, where we could lower our electric rate a corresponding amount. And that's the whole idea of this, is to make sure that the electric rate does not subsidize water or sewer. And anyway, I started working on the rates this afternoon, and I got interrupted multiple times, and I can't give you that number tonight.
You say that, but neither one of these options are revenue neutral.
It almost is on number 2. When I ran the numbers on, he's got on here recommended large commercial, and in our
That's
spreadsheet we
medium.
have small and medium.
Yeah.
We don't have a large. And with the number of customers that we have there, that would be 342 commercial customers roughly, which would be all of the small and medium.
Yeah, and that's what I was working
So
on
when,
this afternoon.
so when he was saying large, he meant the small medium.
Small, medium, yes.
Small and medium.
We don't have a large, we have small, medium, and industrial.
Right.
At any rate.
So if you take the small and medium,
We've already had a reduction in the small commercial,
Right.
not in the medium, and that's where I was aiming, is the medium commercial.
but with the.
And I'll come back with some numbers at the next time,
Right.
next meeting.
Now, Bert, you said we're losing money on our sewer. How are we losing money on that? What's an example of how we're losing money?
We're not charging enough, or our expenses are too high, take your pick. Well, our expenses are extremely high because our sewer lines are in such poor condition. We're constantly have people out in the field, day, night, weekends, everything. I'm stopping lines that are stopped up because of old 4-inch lines, clay tile lines and whatnot. And it's just expensive to maintain them, and it's not gonna get any better as time goes by. That's why I want to do the loan for the replacing all the sewer lines. As you know,
Yeah, we had that discussion a couple of meetings ago where these lines are built in the 30s and 20s, some of them. They're old, they're too small, and they're full of cracks and intrusions in there, so we've got a plan to replace that, but it's going to take several years to get it done.
Well, in fact, I'll add that to the discussion. I talked to the engineer on the project, and he called me and said, can we take a jump start on the job, the surveying? And I said, you know, part of the deal was, you know, he didn't want to start charging the city for, you know, if he began the engineering process until the loan is closed. And basically, I told him, we don't necessarily want to pay you before the loan is closed. Anyway, he contacted the Texas Water Development Board, and they told him to go ahead with the survey as long as he was happy not to get paid until the loan is closed. And they told him to go ahead, which pretty much means the loan is going to get closed.
And that's Hayter Engineering out of Paris, which
Right.
we...
That's correct.
Right, yeah.
Anyway, so he is gonna start tomorrow or Wednesday surveying the sewer lines to establish some grades and whatnot on the places that we're talking about replacing the lines.
Okay, Bert, since this is an agenda item to discuss these, you tell us you're not ready to give us the revised rates now. Do we want to table this until you do have the rates and give us another motion?
It'll take me till next meeting before I have, you know, exactly what we need to do on that.
Okay, then I would entertain a motion to table this agenda item until another time.
I'll make a motion to table it.
Okay, second? Mr. Kent, how do you vote on that?
Aye.
Ms. Buckmaster?
Aye.
Mr. Love?
Aye.
Mr. Malone? Aye. Ms. Higgins? Okay, we'll table that until a future meeting. Okay, the next and final item is to look at the City Charter Review Committee. In your packet is a list of names that have been submitted, but I think we first need to make a motion to determine just how many people the council would like to have on this review charter committee, or charter review committee, and then go forward and select those members that you want on that committee.
There's one name that was left off, and that's Wendell Robbins.
Okay?
So it needs to be added.
Yeah, I saw him on the previous one. So that makes 23 names.
I don't know why his name was removed, but somebody told me to take it off, and I took
Really?
it off, and then Thomas called me and said, put it back on, so.
I talked to Wendell several weeks ago, and we discussed this briefly, and he said he'd be glad to be
And I
on it.
recall that, but for some reason, I was told to take it off, so.
Okay.
I
Well,
don't
then-
even remember who told me.
Okay?
And then I think, somewhere between 10 and 12 people ought to be plenty, I would think.
I think that's what we need to discuss now, Thomas, is do y'all decide how many? Someone strongly recommended to me a number of 7, or any odd number, so that there won't be an even split.
Yeah, it needs to be.
That'd be an odd number, so y'all make a decision, and let's vote on how many members you want on this charter review committee.
11.
I'm fine with 7.
The original charter commission was 15 people.
Yeah, that was several years ago.
How many
50.
was it, Bert? The original?
The what?
How many was on the original?
15.
I know in previous committees and things I've worked on and served on in the past, you get too many sometimes, and all you've got is a bunch of people who want to argue. 7 has been a good number on a lot of committees I've served on in the past. So it's not up to me, it's up to you folks as to how many.
I'm good with 11 too. We can look at
11, 7 may limit us, because we're offering so many different areas of expertise. 7 may limit us. I like the 11 number a little better.
That's fine.
Okay, so do we want to agree to 11 and vote on that?
Works for me.
So let's have a motion for 11.
I'll make a motion that we choose 11 members for our city charter review.
Okay, we have a second? Okay. Mr. Kent, how do you vote on that?
Aye.
Ms. Buckmaster?
Aye.
Mr. Love?
Aye.
Mr. Malone?
No,
You say no?
I did.
Okay. Wanted to make sure. Ms. Higgins?
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Now, in your packet is a list of all these names. Sandy and I have talked about this a lot this past week, about how maybe we can do this. We'll add Wendell Robbins to that list. I think we thought about each of y'all take that sheet, mark your 11 names, and pass them forward, and we'll tally them up and see who gets the most votes for those 11. So if y'all want to mark your sheets and pick 11 people, Sandy and I will tally them up.
You just want to pick straight 11, or do you want to
Do you
add
want
a
us to-
couple alternatives as well?
I was gonna say, do we put them in the order that we want? I mean,
I'll just
order
put a
of
check.
preference, or just?
I'll put a check
I'm
mark
just
by the
trying
name.
Do I need to like number on one?
Check marks or X's?
Whichever. A
Y'all are
mark.
trying to complicate it, just pick 11 people.
Pick 11. Under that column with your name, Tammy. Pick 11, put a mark of some kind on there, we'll count
Can
your
I
marks.
vote for like? Can I- Never mind. Look, my column's bigger than y'all's.
Your name is bigger, that's the only reason.
So when you get through your, putting your marks, pass them over this way, and Sandy and I will tally them up.
I put a couple of alternates on there. I think straight 11, because I don't think you're going to get 11 first vote.
So you've added a couple of alternates that aren't on this list.
No, that are on this.
Oh, I
list.
see what you said. I got, you put 11 plus 2.
Yeah.
Okay. That'll work.
Plus 3.
One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
on here now. Thomas, your alternates, ones with the X,
I'm sorry.
did you mark your alternates with an X?
No, I put all.
Oh, okay, I haven't seen yours yet.
I originally picked 12 and 2 alternates.
Is that it? There's his alternates. Okay, now comes the hard part, counting them up. Okay, now we got to pick the top 11, right?
So that's a definite. That's a definite.
Wow.
Y'all got enough fingers? You need me to?
We may need a,
Okay.
Give it to the numbers, lady.
Don't give it to
So we
me.
got 11.
I'm tired.
what if we just pick the top? There's 11 threes. Go with those.
Well, there's fours.
Okay.
You gotta take the 2 top fours, for sure.
What we've got here is 2 people voted for the same person 4 times, and the rest of the top are 3 people voted for the same people. So we've got 11 people voted for the same person 3 times, and 2 people have voted for these 2 people 4 times. So I guess to be fair, we need to take those top 4, those 2 that receive 4 votes,
Yeah, they definitely need to
need
go.
to get those. And now we got to figure
All
out.
the threes.
That's why I put alternates.
Maybe y'all should take this to the office and do it tomorrow.
Or you
We're
could
wasting these
vote.
people's time.
If I voted, I don't know if that would break it.
List and we take a final vote next meeting, or-
Say again?
I said you guys can crunch all the numbers and we can, with the pared down list, we can take a final vote next meeting, or,
Well, Bill would break the tie.
yeah, or yeah, the mayor could read it, yeah. like-
Well, maybe just look at that. Well, that's still, I could break the tie on those 2 4s.
You know, you don't have to break that tie.
The
Those
threes.
definitely
I'm
go.
sorry, the 3s. How many?
Right.
1,
You would have to
2,
take
3,
2 people
4,
off.
5, 6, 7, 8,
what you
9,
do.
10, 11. We've got 11 people that voted 3. 3 people, 11 people voted for the same 3 people. The same person 3 times. Is that
That's
good?
what you're saying, we got
We've got
13.
11 people that all
So we
have
got
3
13
votes.
people.
Right. There you go. Thanks. I got my mixed words up
So we
there.
have 13 people picked
Say that again.
with 3 or 4 votes.
Yes.
Can I make a motion?
Sure.
Sure.
I make a motion that we accept the 13 people. That's an odd number. You guys all thought 11 was good.
Yeah.
If we think those people are good enough by consensus, I make a motion that we accept the 13.
Yeah, some of these people may decline, we don't know that. Okay, is there any discussion on that before we ask for a second? Okay, is there a second on that?
I'll
Take
second it.
13 now. Since we already made a motion to make 11, do we need to undo that motion? How do we do that? We don't have a lawyer here tonight to guide us.
Well, just say that
I'm gonna say he's.
it supersedes.
Yeah, I'm gonna say he's.
I move that we
Well,
change.
He's already moved.
Oh,
And he's
okay.
already seconded, so
Okay.
we're just gonna go with that.
Yeah, let's just go ahead. Let's vote as it is. Mr. Kent, how do you vote on accepting 13?
Aye.
Ms. Buckmaster?
Aye.
Mr. Love?
Aye.
Mr. Malone?
Aye.
Ms. Higgins?
Do we need to tell him who they are?
Yeah, let's tell you who they are. Lee Adams, and if you're here, speak up, I'm not sure. Bill Calabretta? Morgan Latham? Oh, I'm sorry, wait a minute. Let me start over again.
You need a sheet of paper.
Yeah, let me get a ruler here. Lee Adams, Bill Calabretta, Brendan Arp, Marge Latham, T.J. McEwen, Dean Myers, Brent Shaw, Craig Stahlcup, Dylan Steen, Ward Wallace, Pat Walters, Galen Burris, Randy West. That's it. Okay, so we've got that taken care of, and that concludes our meeting. That was the last agenda item, so it's 6:56. We'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you all for coming.
Pretty good mix of people.
Oh, man. Sure.